I rolled into Zane Estate expecting nostalgia, not a real-life soap opera. The giant sign screamed, "Coming soon, 96 luxury homes," right on my late Grandpa Joe's farmland. My name is Mike Litt, and I had zero plans of waging war against an HOA until they messed with me. Enter Karen Paulsen, the HOA president with the charm of a traffic ticket. She was ruthless, entitled, and convinced she owned everything in sight, including my family's land. But what she didn't know? Grandpa Joe left behind a secret that could obliterate her entire development plan. When I crashed their fancy community meeting with the truth, jaws hit the floor. Karen went from smug queen to panicked peasant real quick. And just when you think that was bad, two massive twists flipped the entire battle upside down. Trust me, you won't believe how this one ends. Before we jump into the wild parts of this story, do me a favor, smash that subscribe button if you enjoy tales of epic showdowns and small-town drama. And drop a comment below. Tell me where you live and if you've ever had to deal with an HOA that tried to run your life. It means a lot to this budding channel, and your stories might just inspire our next epic episode. Now buckle up. We're about to take a roller coaster ride through farmland, fences, suspicious property lines, and a certain unstoppable Karen whose entire empire is about to crumble. When I got the call about bulldozers on Grandpa Joe's farm, I was mid-sip of my overpriced city coffee, ready for a lazy morning. Well, so much for that. Mrs. Wilcox, my old farm neighbor, shrieked into the phone like a fire alarm. "Mike, they're building houses on your land!" I nearly spit my coffee. "What? There's a giant sign, Zane Estate East, 96 luxury homes." I grabbed my keys, jumped in my truck, and tore down the highway, ignoring the ominous low-fuel light. When I finally pulled up, I nearly swerved off the road. Bulldozers, excavators, workers in neon vests flattening Grandpa's cornfields like they were making way for a Six Flags roller coaster. Then I saw her. Blonde bob, crisp white blouse, heels so high they could break an ankle. She had that HOA aura, the kind that smells like overpriced property fees and unnecessary rules. "Excuse me," I called, stepping over a mound of dirt. "What's happening here?" She turned, beamed at me like I was a guest at her country club, and extended a manicured hand. "I'm Miss Paulsen, Karen Paulsen, president of the Zane Estate HOA. Isn't it wonderful? Our beautiful expansion?" "Wonderful." I had a few better words for it. "Karen," I said, arms crossed, "this is my land, inherited from Grandpa Joe. Want to explain why your bulldozers are treating it like their personal playground?" She let out the fakest laugh I'd ever heard. "Oh, sweetie, I think you're a little confused. This land was legally purchased last year. We have all the paperwork. Maybe direct your questions to our lawyers?" She even gave me a patronizing pat on the shoulder. Grandpa Joe sell his land to an HOA? The man wouldn't even sell his old tractor, let alone acres of farmland. I wanted to argue, but Karen had already turned, barking orders like a general leading an army of overpriced home builders. Still fuming, I drove up to Grandpa's old house. The porch swing creaked in the wind. The oak tree still stood strong, but nostalgia was drowned out by one thought. How had this happened? Grandpa believed in neighborly trust, no fences, no keep out signs. Maybe that trust just got us royally screwed. Inside, dust covered everything, but his old desk sat exactly as he left it. Bills, letters, notes about the farm still thriving. Guilt stabbed at me. Maybe if I'd visited more, I'd have known something was wrong. Maybe if I'd put up a single no trespassing sign, this HOA nightmare wouldn't be knocking down cornfields. One thing was clear. I was about to find out exactly how these snakes thought they could sell what was never for sale. And Karen, she had no idea what was coming. That night, I tore through Grandpa Joe's old files like a detective in a noir film. Just as I was about to surrender to exhaustion, I found a wooden crate under a loose floorboard, because of course Grandpa had a secret stash. Inside were ancient-looking documents, official stamps, and his unmistakable signature. Jackpot. Comparing an old survey to the modern map, I saw it. Someone had conveniently shaved off a chunk of Grandpa's land. Suspicious? Extremely. And then I found the letter, addressed to me in Grandpa's careful handwriting. "Mike, if you're reading this, someone's trying to steal the farm. But they don't know about the original boundary lines, or the wetlands that can't legally be developed. I saved all the proof here. Don't let them bulldoze our heritage." Wetlands? I vaguely remembered Grandpa mentioning that, but if it was true, then Karen's big development plans were about to hit a legal wall. At dawn, I stormed into Mr. Peters' dusty law office, waking the poor guy up. He read through the papers, his expression shifting from confused to sour milk horror. "Mike, these papers suggest your farm's bigger than what's recorded. Are you sure your grandpa never sold any land?" "Absolutely not," I declared, smacking his desk dramatically. Then I realized maybe that wasn't the best way to phrase it. I mean, he was very firm about it. Mr. Peters sighed. "If you fight this, expect trouble. The Zane Estate HOA doesn't play fair." And right on cue, trouble arrived. By the time I got home, brand new "construction in progress" signs littered my property, and a parade of bulldozers loomed. Front and center, Karen in her best villain attire, grinning like she'd already won. "Morning, Mr. Litt," she cooed. "I heard you're clinging to outdated property lines. Very cute. I do hope you'll come to your senses." I kept my cool. "Those outdated lines prove you're trespassing." She waved a manicured hand. "Oh, I'm not worried. The county commissioner is my dear friend, and the planning board, let's just say they love my calls. You, on the other hand, are a nobody with some crusty old deeds. So, care to join us for a nice payout, or will you keep playing farm detective?" Steam practically shot out of my ears, but I forced a smile. "We'll see." That night, I thought I'd get a break. Nope. The power flickered, the water slowed to a sad trickle, and then, revving engines outside. My phone rang. A smooth voice purred, "Just routine checks in the area. Hope you're not too inconvenienced." Click. Classic intimidation tactics. The kind of thing people love to say should be illegal, while ignoring the fact that people with power make their own rules. But Karen and her goons didn't realize something important. Unstoppable people never see the storm coming until it's too late. A few days later, I decided I'd had enough of Karen's nonsense. If they wanted to push me around, I'd push back. I hopped into my truck, nearly took out half a shrub, and drove to the local newspaper, the Meadow Star. The editor, Lucy Freeman, was an old friend of Grandpa's. She sat me down, listened to my entire story: faulty property lines, vanished farmland, suspicious homes, and a bulldozer fiasco. Lucy's eyes lit up. "Mike, this is gold! The biggest scandal we've had since that donkey got elected as homecoming king in '98. She started taking notes, calling city council offices, rummaging through public records. After about an hour, Lucy whispered, "Mike, do you realize a chunk of your farmland is wetlands with protected species? The county never rezoned this part for residential. They can't legally build there. If that's the area they're bulldozing, this is a bigger story than I thought." I gave her a half grin. "Then let's blow it wide open." I left her office feeling like maybe the good guys had a chance. But on my way back, my phone buzzed with texts from random numbers. "Take your threats and go. Sell the land or face consequences. We know where you live." That last one made me laugh a little too hard. Yeah, you're literally bulldozing my front yard, Sherlock. Of course you know where I live." But the intimidation was definitely ramping up. Karen must have told her minions to send me a message. Reaching Grandpa's farmhouse was no easy task either. Now a large metal barrier blocked half the driveway, supposedly for safety reasons. More like prevent Mike from leaving his own property. I managed to squeeze past and park near the barn. A strong odor of diesel fuel drifted through the air, making me wrinkle my nose. The farmland was quiet, but I could sense all sorts of tension humming around me. Out of nowhere, Mrs. Wilcox popped up behind me. She must have ninja skills, because I nearly jumped out of my skin. "Mike," she said, eyes full of concern, "you better watch yourself. That HOA has a track record. They fine people for having lawn gnomes. They once removed a kid's bike from his own yard because it clashed with the landscaping. If they can get away with that, who knows what else they'll try." I believed every word. "Thanks for the warning, Mrs. Wilcox," I said, "but I'm not backing down. Maybe it's time these folks learned how the law actually works, especially if that land was never rezoned." She smiled sympathetically. "Do what you gotta do, Mike. Folks around here are rooting for you. We're just too scared to say it out loud. Karen's goons are like ninjas with clipboards. I nodded, thinking, that's exactly the problem. Fear. But fear only wins if we let it. I'm about to become the biggest thorn in Karen's side. I was already picturing the look on Karen's face when I whipped out all the real surveys. I wanted to see that lipstick grin vanish. Let's just say I was looking forward to the day. And spoiler alert, that day came much sooner than I expected, except it was about 10 times more dramatic than I ever imagined. Late that night, I was hunched over Grandpa's wobbly kitchen table, squinting at some old maps when my phone buzzed like an angry wasp. Lucy Freeman, our fearless newspaper editor, was practically hyperventilating on the other end. "Mike, get over here now! They're pouring concrete like it's a midnight bake sale. Something shady's happening." That's all I needed to hear. I bolted out the door, tires kicking up gravel as I sped toward the site. Sure enough, floodlights blazed over the empty fields like we'd wandered into an alien abduction. Workers zipped around, dumping concrete at warp speed. My stomach dropped. They weren't just rushing, they were covering something up. And then I saw him, Commissioner Digby. Commissioner Digby, the guy who's supposed to uphold building codes, out there in his overpriced suit, directing this circus like a deranged orchestra conductor. I ducked behind a trench, phone camera rolling, just in time to hear him bark, "Get this foundation down before sunrise. The records will show this started months ago. No one will question a thing." My jaw hit the dirt. They were faking an entire construction timeline to dodge wetlands laws. I felt like I'd stumbled into a B-grade conspiracy thriller, except I was holding the smoking gun, my recording. That's when a flashlight hit me right between the eyes. "Hey!" a security guard yelled, storming over like he'd just been told it was his turn to babysit a pack of wild raccoons. 2 more goons flanked him, blocking my exit. Before I could think of a clever excuse, Digby himself roared, "Mike Litt, get out of here! You can't stop this! Don't make it harder on yourself!" The nerve of this guy, like I was the one up to my neck in illegal concrete. Lucy, hiding behind a tractor tire, hissed, "Run!" I didn't need to be told twice. We took off like caffeinated squirrels, diving into my truck and peeling out of there, kicking dust in their faces. My heart was slamming against my ribs, but I had what I needed, proof. Now all I had to do was stay alive long enough to use it. And just when I thought the night couldn't get weirder, my phone dinged. An unknown number. "Nice try. We have your old well water in our sights. One sabotage and you'll never wash your dishes again." I almost laughed. These people were out here committing federal crimes, and their big scary threat was shutting off my dishwashing water. Game on, HOA Karen. Game on. The next morning, I stormed into the county courthouse, waving my arms like a man on a mission. "I need to file an injunction," I declared, slamming my hand on the desk. The clerk barely glanced up. "Next available hearing is in 3 weeks. 3 weeks? By then, they'd be selling overpriced homes on top of my wetlands. Frustrated, I turned to leave and smacked straight into a woman lugging a box labeled Zane Estate Documents. Papers exploded everywhere. As we scrambled to gather them, I spotted something juicy. Old photos of Grandpa's farmland stamped Protected Wetlands. "Thanks," she sighed. "I'm Ann, Department of Environmental Oversight. I was supposed to meet the commissioner, but he's suddenly canceled." I practically vibrated. "Ann, I'm Mike Litt. That's my land, and I have video proof that the commissioner is fast-tracking this illegally." Ann's eyes widened. "This is huge. We flagged the site, but the commissioner overruled us. These photos prove endangered species live there. If they're ignoring this, it's a major violation. If you have more proof, we could shut this whole thing down." I hesitated. Could I trust her? But her exhausted, overworked expression screamed, "I hate corruption as much as you do." So I took a chance. "I have a recording of the commissioner admitting to backdating permits. You in?" She glanced around like she was expecting Karen to burst through the walls. "Yes, but keep it quiet. I like my job." Feeling hopeful, I left, only to return to Grandpa's farmhouse and find a fence on my land. A massive, obnoxious, "You can't sit with us" fence. A sign read, "Private property, trespassers will be prosecuted." The irony made me laugh out loud. That's when 2 men in suspiciously expensive suits approached me. "Mr. Litt, we represent Zane Estate. We have an offer. Sign over the disputed land and you'll receive a generous payout." I snorted. Wow, let me think. No. Also, move this fence before I build a bigger one around your office. They exchanged a look that screamed, Ugh, this guy. One muttered, You'll regret this. Classic villain dialogue. As they slithered away, my phone buzzed. Lucy from the newspaper. Mike, you won't believe this. Karen doesn't own her house. It's technically still on your farmland. You might be able to claim it. I froze. Karen's precious HOA lair on my land? The irony was delicious. If she found out, she might go full supervillain. But for now, I'd keep that ace up my sleeve. Because sometimes, the best way to trap a snake is to let it think it's safe, until it's not. The Zane Estate community meeting was a circus disguised as professionalism. The venue? A massive pavilion decked out with glossy posters showcasing a utopian neighborhood, complete with a man-made lagoon, in farmland. Yeah, okay. A lemonade stand was hustling drinks at $5 a pop, highway robbery if you ask me, and Karen, HOA overlord, strutted around in a power suit like she was hosting the Oscars. I sat in the back trying to blend in. Lucy had her notepad, ready for action. Anne from Environmental Oversight hovered near the exit, waiting for her cue. We had a plan. Let Karen dig her own grave with her lies before I swooped in with the truth. And oh boy, she went all in. We're building a luxury community, tennis courts, a spa, even high-end boutiques, Karen gushed, basking in applause. And rest assured, no farmland or wetlands were harmed in the making of this dream. That was my cue. I stood up. Karen, that's not exactly true. Actually, none of it is. The crowd went silent. Karen's smile vanished faster than a free sample at Costco. Mike Litt, she sneered. You're not on the agenda. Funny, neither is fraud, but here we are. I marched forward, holding up documents. I have proof that this luxury community is being built on farmland you never legally purchased. Oh, and that commissioner who approved it? I have him on tape admitting he faked the timelines. The audience gasped. Phones came out. People started recording. Karen laughed. Fake, nervous. Oh, Mike, your little accusations mean nothing. Our lawyers will... Actually, I cut in, gesturing to Anne. Environmental Oversight is here. They have evidence of endangered species on this land. And the county clerk? Yeah, they confirmed. No rezoning was ever approved. Karen turned purple. This is a witch hunt. Lies. The room erupted. Buyers demanded refunds. Residents looked ready to riot. Then I went for the kill. Karen, I said, grinning, guess where your house sits? On farmland that was never legally sold, meaning your dream home is technically mine. Her jaw hit the floor. That's a lie. My name is on the mortgage. Sure, I shrugged, but not the land deed. Without it, your mortgage is just a very expensive piece of paper. If I wanted, I could evict you. The crowd cheered. Some started chanting, Tear it down! Return the farmland! I wasn't out to destroy houses, but Karen? She was fair game. Karen lunged for the microphone, but I yanked it back. You poisoned my well, blocked my driveway, and scammed a whole town. Now, everyone knows. I hit play on my phone. The speakers blasted the commissioner's voice. We need it done by dawn or we'll never pass the environmental inspection. The audience exploded in outrage. Anne stepped forward. With this evidence, all construction is halted immediately. No bulldozers. No building. Karen lost it. You're all idiots! Mike Litt, you worthless little cockroach. You're gonna regret this. I bowed. Oh, I hear you, Karen, but guess who doesn't care? Security closed in, but the damage was done. People were canceling contracts. The project was toast. Karen, red-faced and screeching, stormed off stage, throwing insults so colorful I almost wanted to applaud. Lucy clapped me on the back. Mike, she grinned, I think we just changed everything. I exhaled, feeling the weight lift. Grandpa Joe's land was safe. Karen's empire had crumbled under the weight of her own arrogance. And best of all, the reign of HOA terror was finally over. In the weeks that followed, investigations blossomed like wildflowers. The commissioner tried to deny everything, but the recorded audio said otherwise. He ended up resigning to avoid a bigger scandal. Zane Estate's expansion was put on indefinite hold while the courts sorted out who owned what. Turns out, the boundary lines had been tampered with decades ago by a shady land surveyor who took bribes. Grandpa had suspected that, but never had the chance to prove it. And yes, a large chunk of the farmland was confirmed to be wetlands that no one could build on. As for Karen, well, let's just say she lost her position as HOA president. The HOA board realized the entire scandal might cost them hundreds of thousands in legal fees, not to mention the environmental fines they'd face for messing with protected species. And then there was that little detail about Karen's own house. Did I actually have the right to claim it? Possibly. But I wasn't looking to boot families from their homes. I offered a deal: rename the farmland as a protected zone in Grandpa Joe's memory, restore my rightful property boundaries, and keep Karen far away from me. In exchange, I wouldn't press for demolition or massive personal damages. The new board eagerly agreed. People were so relieved that some even shook my hand and apologized for supporting Karen in the first place. Grandpa's farmland is now basically a nature preserve, with a small orchard that I decided to plant in his honor. Lucy wrote a full series in the Meadow Star, detailing Karen's meltdown, the commissioner's corruption, and how everyday folks stood up for what was right. She got so many letters from readers saying things like, "So glad you took down that shady HOA," and "If that was me, I would have bulldozed everything." Some demanded that we restore the farmland fully and ban all development. But real life's a bit more complicated than that. We allowed a few smaller homes to remain, but only on the part that was properly zoned. The wetlands remain untouched now.